good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from today. And thank you for joining us for today's live Dot3D webinar covering live 3D scanning for crime and crash scene documentation. We have an esteemed panel of experts on the line who I'll be introducing momentarily. But before we do, just a couple logistics to get out of the way. If you have any questions at any point throughout the session, please submit them and we will do our best to address them at the end. We may go over our allotted hour time slot, so if you have questions and can stick along, you're welcome to. If you have to drop off, then that's no problem either. We will be doing a live screen share broadcast of a simulated crime scene here today. We do take pride in that and try and include that in the majority of our web broadcasts. That being said, be warned, things can go wrong when trying to do things truly live. Hopefully they don't, but just be patient if there's any sort of glitch along the way as we do our live broadcast and then transition over to our panel of questions. We're going to kick things off with an introduction. And first, let me introduce the team. So first, I'd like to introduce myself, Chris Ahern, VP of Sales and Marketing here at Dot Product LLC. I will be leading the live demonstration today, as well as the panel of questions for our experts. I have background extensively in Dot3D scanning for public safety, as well as our other industries such as construction and shipbuilding. I'd like to welcome Sergeant William Bush of the Oregon State Police, who's joining us on the line today.
Good morning. As Chris said, my name is Sergeant Billy Bush. I am the head of forensic reconstruction for the state police, and I'm the maniac that's driven the geospatial adoption that OSP has taken on over the course of the last 3 years.
Thank you. I'd also like to welcome William Henningsen with Collision Forensic Solutions. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Will Henningsen. I work in two positions at the moment. I work as the head of reality capture for and laser scanning 3D geospatial for Collision Forensic Solutions. And then I also work with the Omaha Police Department's Forensic Investigations Unit. It's an ISO 1720 accredited unit. One of the sub-disciplines that we have here is forensic mapping. So we have a pretty extensive experience across pretty much every geospatial technology, including Dot Product, on mapping our scenes and documenting and doing analysis from those.
Thanks, Will. And I'd also like to welcome Tom Morris with St. Louis Traffic Accident Reconstruction. Welcome, Tom.
Morning, everyone. My name is Tom Morris. I'm a private practice reconstructionist here in St. Louis, and I've also spent 20 years as a part-time consultant to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, working traffic accident reconstructions with them and some limited force investigations and use of force investigations a few years back. Building out 3D models for them and really trying to apply the technology that exists out there in the best ways possible and the most efficient ways possible to meet the needs of the organization. So really looking forward to this because I'm excited about this product, and if I think you will be too by the time we're done demonstrating it for you today.
Awesome, thanks guys. So as you see, even just the four of us on the panel today are spread across organizations and time zones, and we're seeing a lot of spread in the adoption of Dot3D, in particular in the public safety world, and we couldn't be happier about it. As evidence today, I'd also like to give a shout out to all of you on the line. We have a very impressive registration and participation list today, not just from all over the country, but from all over the world. So welcome those of you who are on the line from wherever you are today, and welcome to those of you tuning in afterwards, as we will be sharing the recording, anybody who couldn't make the live session. So moving on, we're just going to do a pretty quick introduction to Dot3D here. Some of you may have some experience with us in the past, some of you may be brand new to it. So we do want to include a brief introduction to what our technology is and how it can be deployed. Then we'll switch over to the live demonstration. It's easier to show it than describe it. And then we'll spend the second half of today's session discussing a lot of questions with our team of panelists here today. So in short, what is Dot3D anyway? It is a mobile 3D scanning application for public safety and other professional use cases. So as you'll see here today, we've developed a lot of technology specifically tailored to public safety, but it's also being utilized in a lot of other industries where laser scanning is prevalent as well. So that would be construction, shipbuilding, archaeology, architecture, etc. But we're going to talk today about the public safety application for the technology. And it is delivering rapid, accurate 3D reconstruction of crime and crash scenes in a matter of minutes, and in some cases, seconds. That is really something we like to focus on, is the speed and of not just the capture, but the processing as well. Next question is, so this is an application, but how does that application actually get deployed? So there's a few different ways in which you can see this technology deployed in the field. And this slide is meant to help explain that. So today we're going to be broadcasting live from an iPad Pro with a built-in 3D camera. But there's other ways in which Dot3D can be deployed as well. So as you see here on the screen, it can be on a Windows, an Android, or an iOS device. So it's a full 3-platform solution with a variety of options of how you see that technology deployed in the field. So on the left side, we're touching on some of our Windows and Android options. So on the Windows side of things, we have the DPI-10 or DPI-10 SR kit. In the top left image, this is your more traditional complete package handheld 3D scanning solution. So this includes, it doesn't include, but it is packaged together typically with a Microsoft Surface Go tablet that actually slides and locks into place in the back of the tablet. So rugged carrying case, full package. If you're looking for the whole Windows scanning kit, the DPI-10 or SR would be the way to go. Those are primarily utilized for indoor scanning, and that brings us to some of the other options you see on the screen that are more versatile for outdoor scanning as well. We also support Android phones, and the difference there between an iPhone and an Android phone would be that you'd be utilizing an attachable camera from Intel RealSense. We support a wide range of cameras from Intel that each have their own unique benefits in terms of capturing indoors, outdoors, long range, short range, etc. And then on the right side, we have the iPhone and iPad Pro. So these are some of the newer additions to our lineup. And the big difference there is that they have 3D cameras actually built into the devices now, starting with the iPhone Pro 12 and up and the iPad Pro 2020 and up. So in short, you have a wide range of options in terms of how this can be deployed. Plug and play technologies on the Windows and Android side, and built-in 3D cameras on the iOS side. And which accessories do we see particularly often in the public safety space? The first one here could be called an accessory. It's really recommended in virtually any scan, and these are called April tag targets. You can source these magnetic 3D printed targets in a package from Dot Product or our partners at Air Insight Consulting, or you can simply print them out from our website and tape them up on a wall. We do recommend both. The printed magnetic targets are extremely convenient, especially if you're popping them on a vehicle or setting them outdoors on uneven terrain. But at the same time, it's always good to have some paper targets and some tape in your back pocket as well, because for interior scanning, that can sometimes still be the easiest option. Those are either free to print or very affordable to order in sets. We also highly recommend the light kit for public safety applications. Oftentimes you're in a dimly lit area, whether it's a late night crime, a dark room. A light kit ensures full color shadowless data from any of these supported cameras, even in a pitch black scenario. The iPad and iOS versions of Dot3D do include access to your built-in flashlight, so that's a nice benefit. But the results will be even better using the add-on light, so we do recommend that. We also have what's called an iographer case, and this is basically giving you that dual grip housing and benefits of stability and 2 handles while scanning without necessarily investing in a full DPI-10 style kit. So that's actually what I am utilizing today, is just an iPad Pro with the iographer case. And then lastly, this is not an official accessory, but something you should certainly have in mind, measuring tools of your choice. So whether that be a traditional tape measure like we've shown in here, a laser measurement tool, 3D coordinate measurement tools such as a total station or a RTK GNSS solution, all of the above should be in the back of your mind. Whatever your comfort level is now, Dot3D is going to work with it, and you can get even better data sets by utilizing those added reference points. So yeah, that's some of what we're talking about in terms of accessories, and I'm sure we'll hear more from our panelists later about what they're utilizing in particular themselves. So before we switch over to the live demo, we just wanted to touch on, from our perspective, what makes Dot3D such a good fit for public safety. And I think we'll hear some of these points echoed in our conversations later, and also hear some other reasoning and ideas behind the deployment of the technology from our experts as well. So first off, platform independence. This is alluding to what I mentioned earlier. If your organization, is already a large-scale deployment of rugged Windows tablets, Android phones, or you've already switched over to iOS and you have, an iPhone in the pocket of your team members, any of those scenarios, Dot3D can be a fit and can be deployed rapidly and scalably throughout your organization. Second being the speed of capture. So anytime you're shutting down a scene or roadway for a crime scene or a crash scene capture, speed is critically important. And it's not just speed of capture, but speed of actually seeing the final results too. As you'll see today, what you've captured, you can go back and add more if you missed something. So it's a truly unique capability to Dot3D scanning that you can really see everything and finish the capture so quickly on site. Third is ease of use. So this is really important. We know that not everybody is a certified expert in 3D scanning. As you'll see today, there's a lot of potential in terms of where you can go with Dot3D, but it's also something you can really just pick up and go with. We're going to encourage that today. If you have access to one of these pro-level iOS devices, the best thing we can suggest is try it out and see for yourself that it really is as easy as it looks, and then it only gets better from there. Secure local processing. So this is, of course, critically important to chain of evidence and something we do pride ourselves in. Everything we do is local. There is no requirement of internet connectivity in the field. There's no cloud processing required. There's no wait times for cloud processing or anything along those lines. So it's all data captured instantly with active 3D sensing and processed locally at a very rapid speed. You can, optionally take care of your optimization and post-processing after the fact. You don't have to do that right away, but it is so fast that outside of extremely large scenes, it oftentimes makes sense to do it right away on your device. Number 5 is accuracy. This is always going to be extremely important. We have a good understanding of this, not just in the crime scene applications, but also in construction and BIM applications. Anytime you're capturing 3D data, it needs to be accurate. There's always going to be a threshold. You don't necessarily always need 2 to 3 millimeter accuracy, but you always need a reliable result. And in some cases, we are attaining 2 to 3 millimeters of accuracy. And in others, it's sub-centimeter, but across very large areas. So the ability to really tie down your data so accurately is always important, and we pride ourselves in that as well. You'll see that in the loop closure and the optional reference constraint workflows that we've built into the software. Number 6 is our widespread compatibility. So our goal is to make this a platform that can stand on its own. So Dot3D is delivering a lot in its own right, especially for new users just getting into 3D. But it's also made to be highly compatible on the front end and the back end with everything else you have going on in your organization. So whether that's drones, terrestrial laser scanners, GNSS, coordinates, all that data we want to be able to be utilized and leveraged within and outside Dot3D. And then also on the back end, we want our data going wherever it needs to go for you. So we export to 10 different industry standard color point cloud formats for maximum compatibility, carrying those coordinates from Dot3D over wherever you need to go. 7, we have 3D data compression. So put simply, our files are really, really small. We have our own proprietary compression of the .dp point cloud format, and it makes things really fast, really easy. And it also allows for autosave of every scan you take. So every time you scan from your device, you're gonna have a date and time stamped backup of that scan saved into a separate folder that's not immediately accessible to avoid any overwrite issues. And yeah, it's so small that you can allow for that. And you don't even have to necessarily wipe that folder very frequently at all, because our scans are 30 to 40 times smaller than a traditional laser scan file would be of the same scene. 8th, we have versatility of use cases. So this is just pointing out that it can be helpful for a quick scan of a small crime scene. We've been utilized, just for scanning a body alone, or for scanning an entire multi-story home. So it's kind of that whole wide range that this can work very well, whether it's a standalone or whether it's filling in gaps and getting more detail to augment a larger scale scanning solution. Next, we have 3D annotation and editing. So as you'll see today, we've built in some features that are particularly relevant to public safety and crime scene capture. That would be the 3D annotation ability to add notes to particular pieces of evidence, attach your crime scene photographs, as well as the editing capabilities for measurement, etc. And I'm being pinged to speed up and get to the live demo, so let's do it. Number 10, we have options for any budget. So this is really important. We are aiming to democratize 3D capture and make it something that's accessible for any department, any organization, any budget, and that really is the case now. There are ways to get started with Dot3D scanning, for a free trial with a phone that you already have, or even when you're paying for that device, you can get in for just a few $100s and get good results too. So this is not something that's going to break the bank, and that's not just about that first user. That's about envisioning, once I've established success with this technology at a small scale, am I really going to be able to expand use throughout the organization? And as you'll see today, talking to some of our excellent customers on the line, that is absolutely the case. All right, so next up, we're going to switch over to a live demonstration. Again, bear with us as this may be a little bit slow in the broadcast as we share screens from multiple devices, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me as I walk through the simulated crime scene. So we've set up a multi-room scan to emphasize that this isn't just something that can be utilized for a single small area anymore, and we have a crime scene set up here for scanning. As I demonstrate, I would also emphasize, give it a try yourself. If you like what you see, download our app from the App Store and give it a go. Okay, so you should now be able to see my iPad screen broadcasting live from this device right here. I'll step away so you can see our, our patient volunteer for the simulated murder in the dining room. And we'll go ahead and start our scan. So to begin your scan, you simply press the New Scan button in the top left side of Dot3D. This will be a somewhat rushed scan today, so I wouldn't necessarily say I'm following every single best practice, as we do want to get to our panelists, but it'll also show you really that you can get some pretty impressive results in a really short period of time. You'll notice that I have a few of these April tag targets scattered through my scene. I'm going to start and finish at those tags, which is an important best practice for highly accurate automatic loop closure. And I can also reference measurements between these tags. So I'll go ahead and start my scan by pressing the button on the right. And then it's a medium pace to move through your scene. And it feels like spray painting. So you just want to just watch as your scene gets populated. If you find yourself wanting to get a little bit more data on an area that hasn't been triggered yet, you can just tap anywhere on the screen to trigger some additional captures on the body, for example. That'll add a little bit more detail. Now, if you want to flag each piece of evidence while scanning, you can press the camera icon on the right side of the screen and select the crosshair button, and we'll select tag number 4. And we can also capture high-resolution photographs from our traditional 2D camera by pressing and holding that same photo icon and then releasing. And you'll see later that we actually get the valuable information of where those images were captured from, where I was standing and pointing when each image was taken. And I'll add an annotation to each of these tags in my scene.
One feature, Chris, that I have seen that it's really useful is that second tap. If we want more detail in a particular area, you can densify the point cloud at your discretion. I really like that.
Thank you, Will. I agree. And I think I'm glad you brought it up because it's a little bit of a hidden feature right now. I think we need to make sure everybody's aware of that. So a good example of that would be this rocking chair. You know, it's thin. Bars may not capture quite as well on their own, but if you tap the screen, you'll see them come in a little bit better. Just any sort of scenario that you're not seeing necessarily everything you want, a quick tap can help. So as I move through the scene, I'm generally pointing straight on at the area that I'm capturing. I'm usually about 3 to 8 feet away from the target. And then the only time you really want to approach at a more oblique angle is if you're having trouble filling something in, such as a shiny black surface. That can sometimes help. So it is very intuitive to just walk through your scene and fill in all the data of interest. You'll notice that with our latest release, all of the data remains visualized on screen. So I'm actually seeing through the wall essentially here over to the other side of the house while scanning. This is very, very helpful. A few years back, you wouldn't have necessarily been able to see all that at the same time.
For a lot of the members on my team, I know that especially on the iOS devices, the haptic feedback, the taps that you're feeling as you're going through and progressing, adding additional data lets them know that they are in fact making progress. As you're kind of recapturing certain areas, turning back, it can make them think that they're not really doing anything or something's gone wrong. The haptic feedback, they really like knowing that they're continuing to move and progress through data acquisition.
Very good point and good timing. That kind of just happened to me a little bit while I was pointing at, you know, the kitchen counter here, but also seeing through to everything I've captured in the room behind it. With the iPhone, there's a vibration with each frame that's triggered, and then you know you've gotten the data that you need. Just a natural trigger there. So as you see, we're moving back to the original room, and even in this essentially unoptimized preview here, everything is very clean as we close the loop. It's important to remember to finish back at the April tag targets that you started at. So we'll get 1, 2, and 3. And close out our scan. So there's literally no delay between capture and your unoptimized preview. So we can see the details of our scan right away on the tablet, but this is a preview. So this is not necessarily representative of the final quality, but it is representative of the quantity, we can call it. So for example, if you found a hole in your scan that it was important you go back and fill in, or something you didn't get enough detail on, that's when you would go to the scan/append tab and append to build back into your same data set. But in this case, it looks great. We are ready to move on with optimization. Before I optimize, I will touch base quickly on an important and useful feature, which is the ability to reference measurements or known coordinates in your scan. So as a true best practice, I would have taken a few more measurements, capturing a little bit larger span of length, width, height of each of these spaces in my scene, or tied in known coordinates if I had that luxury. But in this case, let's just say we wanted to add a proof of scale that's going to be, exactly applied during optimization around the body. I can just add new reference constraint and tap on each of these 2 targets and input the exact measurement of 6 feet between those targets. Now you know that that's going to be applied during optimization. It may have been spot on its own for a measurement that small, but this guarantees it. So it's great to be able to reference those measurements and guarantee your data that way. And then when you go to optimize, you'll see that the constraints from targeting option is automatically checked. So I'll just press optimize scene, and let that crunch away. So this is a full finalization and improvement of your data set. So it's applying that measurement, but it's also leveling the colors throughout the scene, cleaning up any noise that's recognized in the point cloud data, tightening your frame-to-frame alignment based on overlapping geometry throughout your scene, and producing your final result. As you see here, this will probably take no more than 10 to 20 seconds to optimize locally on device, even for this 3 to 4 room scan.
Visualization of that point cloud in the field for you guys, Chris, is really, really slick. That automatic dollhousing of the scene, right? Preferentially not displaying that wall that's in my face. It's a huge feature, right? So as you navigate that scene, you get a dollhouse cutout from every single perspective. One of the hardest things we see with new adopters of this is, how do I navigate through a point cloud to an interior space? And this just solves that problem.
Absolutely, thank you, Will. So yeah, this actually, it may look like a mesh or a photo rendering, but this is a point cloud rendering. So we've built a lot into our new and improved point cloud rendering engine, which also includes the ability to toggle these back faces at any time. So I just press that button in the top right. That includes virtually every point, or I knock it off, and now we're just seeing through those walls with that dollhouse view. So this is my final result. Everything looks great. Just to show you that it really is a point cloud, I can zoom all the way in, and you'll see the density of the points in this wall, for example, about 2 millimeters of spacing between those points. So before we finish up here, I'll touch quickly on some of the functionality that we have right here in Dot3D. You'll notice that there's a couple numbers up on the screen, 3 next to annotate and a 3 next to targets. It's because we took those 3 scan time annotations. So you see the X's on areas that I've added an annotation to, and I can press complete unfinished to finish up those annotations. So we'll call that 4, 5, and 2. Now you see that could have been any sort of evidence indicator or text you wanted to add, including a description or even links. Those are the ones that we flagged with the crosshair wall scanning. We also can add annotations after the fact as well, just with the tap of your finger. And it's important to note that you can not only add text annotations, but also photo annotations. So while we do have the high-res photo that was captured while scanning, you see this icon pointing at the body showing where that was taken from. I can pull that up and get the higher resolution detail from that particular perspective. Oftentimes you may want to utilize your traditional crime scene photography. And to do that, you would utilize the annotation feature with photographs. So that's a great capability as well. You can start taking measurements right away and measure from any point to point within your scene just with the tap of your finger. And I'm duplicating and moving throughout the space to measure from any point to point very easily. Once you've set your coordinate system, you can also measure delta XYZ. So for example, a height of the table. I'll press confirm, set. So I'll set my origin point on the floor, my Z-axis straight up, my X out of the wall. I apologize if I am moving pretty quickly through some of this. We just want to make sure we have time to get to the rest of today's panel discussion. But now that I've set the coordinate system to the floor, that's my origin point, I can measure a distance, not only from point to point, but also from anywhere on the table to anywhere on the floor, and then look at my delta X, delta Y, and delta Z on the floor. So if you want to see what the clearance is through a doorway or the height of anything in your scene, you can do that really easily that way. Lastly, before we finish up here, just want to touch base a little bit on the most new capabilities in regard to Dot3D for public safety. So the most recent major addition is the cropping ability, which was a later addition on iOS, and the hide ability. So this is going to allow you to not necessarily delete points from your scan. Say, for your own chain of evidence controls, you don't want to actually delete any of the data, but just hide it. You can essentially do cropping, but not actually delete anything. So that would be the hide version. I'll do view, vantage point, side. I'll do view orthographic. And now I'm essentially cropping out my ceiling in blue. But it's still there. If I go back, I can revert. I can bring it back at any time. And then you do also still have your traditional cropping tool if you do want to delete points. So for example, these stray points through the window, I would switch to crop mode and apply, and select and then apply. So then those are deleted from the scan, whereas the blue points are just hidden anytime you leave that window. The other improvements we've built in recently are the ability to reload your autosave data at any point from the load autosave button. And we've also locked down the autosave folder even more. So as mentioned earlier, every time you take a scan, it's autosaved to the autosave folder. It's actually autosaved twice. So when you finish, when you hit that finish scan button, you have a version that's date and time stamped in your autosave folder, and then you have a version that's date and time stamped in your Dot3D scans folder. And if you go and try and reload the autosave and then make changes to it, it's no longer going to give you the ability to save as or export. Or sorry, it's no longer going to give you the ability to save over that file. It will force you to save as. So this is really great to know that you always have that version to revert back to, but also that you'd have to go out of your way to overwrite any of that data. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and save our scene into the DP format. And then we'd be ready to export to our chosen point cloud format if needed, or in many cases, keep it in the DP format to go into Dot3D edit on a PC or into many of our partner applications who are reading the DP format already. So that covers today's quick demonstration. Thanks for tagging along with me as I move through the scene on the iPad. And
Chris, can you tell them what the file size of that one was?
Absolutely.
Just so they have some idea.
Yeah. So I'll have to pull up the actual file in File Explorer to see the size, but it's 87 million points, 304 frames of data. My guess is that would still be in the 60 to 80 megabyte range in the DP format. So extremely small. A single room scan the size of this room, for example, might be so small you could attach it to an email in some cases, or of course, easily lightweight share to the cloud or transfer via USB cable. So now I'm going to switch back to my presentation screen. There we go. So we've completed the live demonstration. Very glad to be able to include that today. And we're going to move on to our panelists. So welcoming our experts who have been kind enough to chime in along the way today, and gonna get their insight into how they're really deploying Dot3D in the field in their own organizations and some others that they've shared the technology with. So I would ask each of you to just give us a brief background of where did your Dot3D journey begin? I know each of you found your way to us in a little bit of a different manner. So have at it.
I'll start off. I was using I wanted to get into LiDAR scanning using the iOS system and take advantages of the LiDAR camera that's based in the iPad Pro. And essentially, I was working with some competing products and testing some of those. And then I met up with Will at a annual conference at ITI in Collinsville last September when you just released the iOS version of Dot3D. And he said, you really need to take a look at this. And, I thought, well, it's just another competing product, but I downloaded the demo and used it for about 5 minutes before I decided I needed to purchase it. It had all those advantages of the things that I was looking for, the interoperability between different tools that I apply for the scene, to be able to export things, to be able to bring them into other analysis tools. So the more I used it, the more applications I found were advantageous to the way that we were applying it. So ever since then, it's just a case of what new things could I figure out how to use this, and what new techniques could I apply to the scenes that I'm actually processing.
Thank you, Tom. And I would turn to Billy and Will. Go ahead, Billy.
Go ahead, Billy.
Mine started a little bit earlier than that. I had noticed when the Intel sensors had made it on the market, and I was trying to transition my team into a more compact way of operating. So we don't have a lot of space. We have to fit everything that we are going to take with us inside of a patrol car, and we like to have it with us. But I wanted to be able to get a broader reach when it came to three-dimensional data capture. We were accustomed to doing more two-dimensional work, but I wanted to get into three dimensions. So I noticed when the Intel sensor started hitting the market and worked with a couple of local companies, and we came across Dot product. And at the time, we were working on Windows integration with the ruggedized tablets, and we were able to start with the D400 series sensors and a ruggedized tablet to be able to start getting it out into the field. And we were able to deploy at least 6 units that were capable of doing that. And we were finding such great success as it evolved and as the iOS sensors came onto the market. My team ended up expanding from having 5 or 6 of us that were able to do this to getting iPhone Pros in every member of my team's pocket. And it came at such a cost. I mean, when it comes to LiDAR scanning, that's an enormous investment, and it's a very, very localized resource. When you're looking across the state, for a tenth of the price, I could put it in every investigator in my state's pocket, and it just became the go-to for a lot of my personnel. It's especially when we're talking about iOS devices in particular, you never leave without your phone, and so they always have the ability to capture three-dimensional data in their back pocket anytime they pop out that door.
Awesome. That's a really good way to put it. And I think it is meant to be the go-to. And you can always have the big guns, but it's awesome to have that go-to option. So, and then lastly, we had Will. So just a brief background, Will. We've known you for quite a while.
Yeah, I think we were at our agency one of the first public safety adopters of the early DPI systems, and that was when it was a full hardware solution that was offered by you guys with the PrimeSense cameras. And we were primarily using it as a gap filling tool. You know, as an early adopter of LiDAR as well, terrestrial LiDAR, we had, you know, large tripod mounted systems. It's not necessarily the case anymore, but at that time they were pretty cumbersome, and there were a lot of places that we just couldn't document. And Dot product, we saw that represented at a conference at IAFSM. Great organization, right? If you're wanting to learn about geospatial data and 3D, great place to learn about it. And that's where we found Dot product. We tested it, started utilizing it as a gap filling tool, and that has continued, right? The incredible thing that we have found useful to us, useful to our clients, useful to my agency has been the easy adoptability of this tool. It's not just taking off-the-shelf hardware and putting it to a good use. It's taken off-the-shelf skill sets, right? Everybody knows how to navigate an Android phone. Everybody knows how to navigate a Windows system. And so the learning curve for this kind of stuff becomes much less steep. And that's been important for us and the agencies that we work with.
Thank you, guys. That's a great background. For those who've been following along, I provided a little bit reverse history via some image and video content here. It all started with Android, then Windows came along and has been a big player for quite some time and still is. They both are. And then in the last year, we've made some big strides on the Apple ecosystem. So for each of you, just this could be, the 3D cameras you're utilizing, the tablets you're utilizing, or just the more simple stuff like what you're measuring with. What makes up your current Dot3D scanning kits? I think we have a lot of iOS, but I think some might be tablets, some might be iPads, some might be iPhone. So just curious what you're seeing most utilized now.
I can go first. I mean, we're keeping it simple. Totally inbuilt hardware with the iPads, with LiDAR and lighting system. That is really all you need. And that for me is the strength of the system. It's a low resource, low cost, low small bag kit for me, right? That I can use for either full data capture or for augmenting what I already have with some more capable tools.
Yeah, I've added the iographer bracket case as well. And one of the reasons I've done that is, one, it can be tripod mounted. So essentially, I've got a tripod that detaches to a monopod that's fairly sturdy. So if I need to get another 6 feet in height on my LiDAR, I can get tops of vehicles and trucks and semi-trucks without getting on a ladder and sitting down. And plus, with the handles side by side, it's a much better reference to make sure that I'm keeping the device parallel to the surface that I'm actually scanning. So I'm not doing a whole lot of this or this. It forces me to be cognizant that, you know, I want to make sure that I'm maintaining sort of a consistent distance to get very good and reproducible results. One of the other things I've added is with the iographer bracket, you have 4 cold shoe mounts up top that you can add whatever lighting options you need. I have the one you demonstrated there, but I've also got a couple of Ulanzi LED light cubes that I can add on there, and those are expandable too. So I can add 3, 4, 5, as many as I want. And just for grins, because I'm a boring person, I don't have anything better to do with my time. I took my car out into the driveway at night, in the middle of the night, with no lighting out there, and I just lit it with the augmented lighting and scanned the vehicle, and it looked like daylight. So, I mean, don't be persuaded by the fact that you have a low light situation. It's like, yeah, we just need to come back tomorrow and do it. You can do it with this, lock down some stuff, and then if you need to fly it with a drone the next day under better lighting conditions, at least you'll have your evidence preserved in those locations, and you can merge those 2 projects as long as your control points are still present. You know, I have an RTK GPS rover that I use to set up control points along with a total station. I had a recent project where I did 150 feet of roadway, which fortunately for me didn't have a great deal of traffic, but I did it all with the iPad. I think it came out to maybe 150, 175 million points, and took me about 15 to 17 minutes. I used control points that I set up with the total station on the April tags. And I think after I fit the project to the control points, my overall error of that 150 feet was 0.02 feet. So I was pretty happy with the control solution. And that's one of the real advantages. Awesome. Is to be able to set your own coordinate system so that when you're collecting data from differing devices, they're all in the same coordinate reference system, so they merge that much more easily. So.
Thank you, guys. That's an awesome example. And so I think in summary, what I showed today is basically what Will and Tom are utilizing. Billy, I think you are, gravitating more toward phone-based solutions. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the benefits there.
We are, and I don't get quite as equipment laden as Tom does. As my peers have said, I'm freakishly tall, so I don't need to really worry about a ladder or a tripod. We're also very, very short on space, and we need to economize, right? An iPad is an expense. I mean, it's a close wash with an iPhone, and an iPhone for my team is just a lot more versatile. I choose to be a little bit more nimble with my ability to capture. So I keep a series of sensors in a Pelican case with me most of the time. So I have everything from the D415, the 435, the 455, the L515, and a 405. I keep all of those in my rig with me, just because every sensor has its day. But yep. At the end of the day, after all of my field testing, I was finding that the embedded LiDAR sensor is the most reliable, and our tracking was working the best. So it made it simpler for my end users. My team.
Do you think it's easier to teach as well?
Significantly. And it's intuitive because, and I believe you brought it up before, Will, it's like everybody knows how to navigate a phone. We've all been doing this forever, and you're used to the way that you move through that environment, through that GUI, and it just makes a ton of sense to them. And honestly, the haptic feedback has been a key, and the ease of training. And I'm not on Dot3D's payroll. I don't know about Will or Tom, but I'm working on a state budget, so I need the most cost efficient solution that I could find. And if there was a more cost efficient solution, I would be using that. But like the point that Tom said was, I need something that can take geodetic control, because if I can't control it, I can't get it into trial. or at least I can't defend it when I get there. And I need something that will integrate with every other source of data. And if I can do that with a cell phone that's in the pocket of my investigator, and my ability to interact with them while they're working, it's too easy. It was a no-brainer to try and bring that on for all of my folks on my team.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, some of your team members started with a Windows tablet and now have moved on to an iPhone. The same could be said for iPads. So, it's when you want it in everyone's pocket and you're talking about not 5 people, but 50 people. That's when I can certainly see where the phone would come in. And from our side, we love both. We're seeing great results out of both the iPad and the iPhone. So what else is in your current crime and crash scene documentation toolbox? So outside of your Dot3D hardware and software, what else are you guys utilizing on a regular basis to capture crime and crash scenes? And how does it work with Dot3D?
Yeah, in the city, we also have a P40 LiDAR scanner, and we've integrated some interior versus exterior scenes. We recently had a project where we had a vehicle traverse a building and go out the other side. So what we did is, because we had a large exterior space to deal with, we used the P40 for the exterior, and then we had a couple of overlapping shots with the P40, but then basically used the Dot3D to document the interior spaces as the vehicle moved through the building. Simply because with all the, if anybody's worked in interior spaces, you probably have the experience that interior crime scenes are usually not committed in areas that are particularly tidy. So there's a lot of obstacles to get around. There's a lot of blind spots. And I've done both, where I've set up P40 inside an interior space to try and capture as much as the interior as you can. To get everything that you could get with this device, you'd need probably 10 setups inside that space that Chris was working in this morning. To get underneath the table, around the table, everything there is going to cast a shadow from wherever you set up that terrestrial scanner. To have something handheld and navigate around those obstacles, you get a more complete data set. And it just makes sense to sort of divide up the work amongst your tools. So P40 for the large outdoor spaces where you need more than, say, 10 to 15 feet of distance from your scanner, interior spaces, and then merge the two. And it makes for a great exhibit. And, you can switch one on and off after you combine them in a open source software like Cloud Compare. You can do lots of analysis inside Cloud Compare for height ramps. I went down in my basement and decided, I'd like to know exactly what the slope is around the drain next to the washer. So I walked around, dropped some April tags down, and within 5 minutes, I was exporting a cloud into Cloud Compare, took the floor out, and then was colorizing the floor and putting contours in it within 5 minutes to sort of have an idea precisely as to what that slope was, where the low points in the floor were. So, I mean, for a lot of features, if once you have the data, there's hardly any limits to what you can do with it. And it works so well with everything else that I use. Photogrammetry, the photogrammetry software I use will integrate with it because it uses the same targets. If I want to go out and specifically on the types of stuff I'm working with, is we'll document cars and we'll document exemplars and overlay them, so that we can get crush profiles and all sorts of interesting things there and illustrate to a jury, when you look at this damaged car, this is what an undamaged car looks like in direct comparison, right over the top of it. So it's quick, it's easy, it's accurate, it's efficient, and it works well with pretty much everything else that I'm using. Because of the standard formats I can export it in, I can compare and contrast. And if I want to set the control with the P40, I can use the coordinate system from the P40 and then control the solution inside of Dot3D. If I have Dot3D, I can export the coordinate system from Dot3D with control points and use that to control the solutions and self-camera parameters and photogrammetry software. There's just an unlimited set of options available to you because of the flexibility that's built into the software.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. And I jumped to an example data set here that Sergeant Bush is experienced with, that's showing some of what you were talking about. So this is, Billy can talk to it, but a drone, terrestrial, and in this case, Intel RealSense Dot3D data all stitched together.
It was, and the peripheral colorized points all came from the air. The grayscale points all came from an RTC 360, which built in the vertical faces on the exterior of the structure. And then all of the interior was done with a D455 on a Windows device. The same geodetic control was applied across all systems, which means that as I brought them all in, my team right now is using Cyclone Core. All I have to do is import the LAS file from the aerial build, import the project from the RTC import, and I can directly import a .dp extension file into Core and then bring them into the one environment with zero manipulation. That's always been something that the defense has been very keen on discussing when I'm on the stand is well, what arbitrary choices did you make in this? But because I could apply the same control system to all three data sets when they were brought into the same environment, I manipulated nothing. They just went to where they were. And it's self-evident in the data set that everything is where it belongs. Obviously, you get a published error as well, as Tom was discussing, but I made no choices. It just went where it was controlled to be based on the same systems.
That's a really good point, that, if you're doing cloud-to-cloud registration or even visual, whether you're moving things to align with each other or selecting points or even targets, there are decision points there. So if you're just applying it all to the same control, that's an excellent way to do that.
But like Tom said, we have another number of other items in our inventory. We have a P40, we have an RTC 360. Right now, I believe we have about 40 UAS systems, but it's this is Oregon. We have a lot of trees. UAS systems only work when you can see what you need to from the air, and this has been the option in the absence of that ability to be able to build straight from the ground, similar to what Tom was talking about. I've happened upon scenes with my iPhone in my back pocket, and you can simply pop out and immediately start to capture. I've had up to 3-lane stretches of roadway where I've had enough geometry going that I could build the entire length of the roadway and all involved vehicles 3-dimensionally in 10 minutes or less. Not only that, I was able to see exactly what I had. That's the one thing with the P40, it's a real challenge. It's a little bit better with the RTC, but you don't really know what you have until you get back, as opposed to having this in your pocket. I know exactly what I have. I can identify deficiencies and correct for them before I ever cleared the scene. So we can double check. We missed that corner. We failed to get underneath that desk. We didn't get enough detail on a particular item of interest or an item of evidence. The ability to see it immediately before we release a scene has proven to be way more valuable than I'd even projected.
I can share my experience with that. I can screw everything up just as easily as anybody else can. And it doesn't matter how careful you are. But the best part about this, especially with the feature that Chris was talking about earlier with the automatic auto-save backups, I went in there and for some reason or another, I must have slid my finger over the default units. So when I had my reference measurements in there, instead of 50 feet, they're reading 50 millimeters. So when it tried to optimize the scene, all of a sudden I had a very compressed semi-tractor. And, I found this out, you can, as soon as you optimize it, you can see it right away. It's like, I need to spend another 6 minutes and do this again, right? So It's not a big deal and nobody minds, because if you have to do it again, at least you're going to get the data that you need. And even if you don't, I could go back in to that original raw data file and then correct the reference measurements and the data and then re-optimize it, and all the problems went away. So as long as that option exists to you, even if you've done something wrong, there's still recovery from it, which is the great feature. There are a lot of other tools that are out there. If you don't take the picture that you need, going back and adding to it is a big issue and a big problem. That and the append feature. I mean, the append feature is really nice to be able to go in there. You see a couple of holes in your data. Instead of doing a rescan of the whole thing, you just jump right back into it. Yeah, it snaps to your location and you start working again.
That pause feature is super helpful as well, right? Because you're getting constant interruptions. At least we are on crime scenes with new information. People walking up to me wanting to point out something that they just found, right? And I don't have to start a new project or interrupt anything. I just pause it and move on.
Definitely. And yeah, the append feature, both that and the pause feature, limited time today, we didn't actually touch on, but similarly, pause while scanning, take a break and then continue. Or if you realize there's a hole, or not just a hole, even just an area that you didn't necessarily get as well as you should have. Maybe you just panned over it kind of quickly from a little further back. It's not necessarily the best data in the scene, but you want it to be. You go back, you get a little bit more detail, and then it's not only that you're adding the data in a traditional sense where it's popped on top, but this is all happening before optimization. So it's as if you'd never really stopped scanning, and then it all optimizes as if it was done in a single take. So we'd certainly love that feature as well. So next question here is, just if anything jumps out to each of you, is there a certain type of scene where you're really finding this is particularly valuable? Any comments on that?
And from my personal experience, that there would not be a scene I would run across where I would be afraid to deploy this technology. And certainly you're going to have to make choices as to what is the best tool that's available to you. So in other words, if all you're working with is this tool, there's pretty much anything that you can do with it. If you have other tools available, like a P40 or something that will scan at further distances, you need to document a couple hundred feet of roadway very quickly. You can certainly do that with the Dot3D in 10 to 15 minutes. If I need to get if I've got somebody that jumped off of a building or a bridge and I need to capture the height of the bridge that may be 100 feet up, I'm probably going to use a different tool, because to get it with Dot3D, I would have to get closer to that object that I might not be able to get close to it with. So there are certain things that, like everything, you have limitations, but it's all a question of how you deploy it. And really the way we deploy it the most, we use it on scenes, documenting physical evidence in detail, but where it's really come into its own is again, documenting the vehicles, being able to walk around and documenting the vehicle crush so that we can process it completely, add the photos so that we can identify it with VIN numbers, tie everything back, scan exemplars, overlay the two so you get crush profiles, do crush measurement, have a visual demonstrative exhibit showing you where the damage occurred, how things moved. If you have to explain PDOF or any of those other technical things, it's much easier to show them that by taking a slice of it with the data that you're capturing there than it would be with other things. And the other added advantage is once we process that vehicle, we've gotten all the data we need from it, we can move it to a different location or release it. So we don't have to maintain the inventory of the evidence on every single case like we used to, simply because we have a complete documentation of everything that could possibly be anticipated. Especially, generally speaking, there are certainly going to be certain circumstances where you're going to want to retain that evidence, but having to go back out and do multiple inspections of vehicles just to identify crush and contact points, you don't need it. This is just a great way of doing that. And you're talking really maybe on complex vehicles, 40 to 50 megabyte file sizes, upwards of 87 million points when you look at it. And it's just the ideal solution. I mean, in 5 to 7 minutes, you got everything that you need.
Awesome.
I've been using it really similarly to what Tom was saying, and that's it. He hit on almost everything that we're doing as well. It was like one of the first times that I had ever had a scan brought into a trial. It was for PDOF. That was a really big question in that particular case. They were making arguments that it happened completely differently, but being able to it's difficult to take a full jury out to show them the vehicle and then try to show each individual juror exactly what you're talking about. Bringing the model in to show them the crush profile and how the PDOF translated through the vehicle was critical to being able to make sure that they understood it could have only happened the way that I was presenting in the case, despite the singularity style physics that was presented by the defense. The other way that we found it really useful is in actually displaying crush energy. We've had cases where we had extreme cases where we have significant deformation of the longitudinal frame rails, and we're able to bring that in, do an offset on that in our CAD software, and completely show exactly how all of the measurements were taken. And because you can see each one of the measurements pulled off the offset baseline, it really, what we weren't really expecting, I guess, was that a lot of my team was just over the moon with UAS, right? If all I have to do is fly and everything's going to be great. And UAS is fantastic, but it's not fantastic when it comes to vertical faces in complex environments. If I've been corridored inside of a scene, which happens a lot here in Oregon, and I can't get those oblique photographs, or I mean, just autonomous mission planning doesn't build vertical faces well. What I found unprompted is that my team is now just scanning in place in addition to the flight. And what we have is we have super clean vertical faces built into the model that would have struggled with just a UAS build. So it's complementing that far more frequently than I would have even expected.
We're hearing that a lot in the world of land and building survey as well, that you get, the data from above, but the building faces is a great example that we've heard mentioned there. So glad to hear that.
Tom brought up, preservation. What all of my team went to very, very quickly was there's never been a dishonest cop, if you ask me, but we were challenged a lot. Like, how do you know that this is exactly at the time of inspection? How do you know this vehicle is in the same condition it was at the time that it left the scene? How do you know the tow didn't damage it and that wasn't some peripheral damage in transit? My team is scanning it on scene and then scanning it in more detail, better lighting when we actually serve our search warrants, and that way we have them as a basis of comparison. No, I know that damage is exactly as it was because I have the model from the scene, and you can look at the two; it's the exact same. So it's just a mechanism for a lot of them to validate that what they were documenting in the initial service of this, or initially, and then subsequently in the service of the search warrant, is exactly as it was, caused by the wreck or the event.
That's a great point. And then we have a question later on that kind of asks, what are some best practices for getting the data into court? And that was one I hadn't necessarily heard mentioned before. Scan it twice, do it once, the best as you can, and then do it again, even better. So that's great.
That was one of the things I was going to mention. I mean, these guys are hitting on big points, but having data, period, right, in a case where people wouldn't normally have it, either because they couldn't afford some of these other tools, or because they couldn't be easily deployed, or because they weren't in my hand at the moment that I showed up on that scene. These scans give us that capability. So I'm getting data where I'm getting 3D data where I wouldn't have data before. And then, devices like this really introduce a fourth dimension to what we're capturing. We're talking about 3D data capture, but that immediate capture as it's found, compared to other documentation tools like video, terrestrial LiDAR scans, UAV photos, right? All of those things help give us some confidence about the preservation of this scene, the original status of the scene, and if there are any changes, how do we explain that stuff? Right? It's given another dimension to the investigation.
Absolutely, and that dimension being real time, essentially, is that you can reference that immediately. Excellent. So next question here is, does Dot3D change your approach to traditional crime scene photography, and how do they complement each other? So how do these more traditional methods work side by side or hand in hand with the 3D scanning?
I think they work hand in hand, right? It is not going to change the way that I photographically document a scene ever, right? Until we have a true photorealistic, 8K resolution scans that are solid surfacing, right? Until I have that, a photo still samples at a much higher rate than any other 3D capture device ever will, right? Until you get to like an RTEC or something like that, which is insane. Yep. But what this does for me is it helps create a narrative exhibit, and a narrative exhibit that can answer questions. Not only do I get the ability to integrate those photos, which are high quality, high resolution, show things that a laser scan or a point cloud will never show me, I can also use that information and that multimedia integration to help tell a story, demonstrate my working theory of the crime, and then I have all of the math requirements, right? I have all this three-dimensional data, I have all this measurement, to allow me to do vector calculations, right, and anything that involves kinematics and crash, reconstructions for bullet trajectories, height analysis from integrations of camera match overlays, speed analysis for vehicles that are caught on camera while the crash happens, all those things that 3D data gives me. So this is it goes hand in hand. It's definitely not replacing or reducing my crime scene photography. It's making it more descriptive, more predictive, better forensic information.
And yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on the images we have on the screen that relate, now that's showing the HD photo capture feature on device, but at the end of the day, that's not going to be as high resolution as your crime scene photography. So it's not intended to replace that, but it's nice to have the option. But what we do see a lot of, which I think is some of what Will's talking about, is taking those traditional photographs and attaching them to your 3D scan. So now you have essentially a map and your photos, and they can be pulled up from within our app, or you can do that at other places as well. And I know, Tom, I think you've alluded to it a little bit earlier with the photogrammetry solutions you're working with. You're in some ways taking it to the next level in terms of integration of the traditional photography with the 3D scan, and you were nice enough to share some of these images, so I added them here for you to discuss.
Essentially, I mean, the best way it's ever been described to me is a photograph will take three-dimensional data and turn it into two-dimensional data, right? So you're losing an element portion of it, and what we're trying to do by integrating the two is we're trying to recover that three-dimensional data, and the Dot3D product is a good way of doing it. So you can scan it with Dot3D. Everything, you have your control dimensions that you've set out there, even maybe just a couple of them. So everything's done to scale. Those April tag target family will be recognized by photogrammetry softwares like Reality Capture, which is what I use. So I can go ahead and scan everything with Dot3D, and then I can walk around with a GoPro camera with a 5K video resolution, extract individual frames from that, use that in the photogrammetry software, and then it will take the meshes, and I can, photogrammetry doesn't do well with shiny surfaces or glass or water. I get better returns off of with the LiDAR solution. So as long as they're in the same coordinate reference frame, you can take those things and combine and merge those two projects. So I get a very high density mesh. And then I can take the high density mesh data and then take the photographs or the extracted photos from the video from the GoPro camera and do a high quality photographic texture on the exterior of that mesh. So you're getting a photorealistic quality. Now, it's not coming from the actual individual measured points, but what you're doing is the software itself is projecting that photo quality texture on it. It gives a really high fidelity, high quality solution using the accurate data that you're combining from all these sources. And it's just another way of taking that data and turning it into something else by using other data and information.
Awesome. Keep it moving here. So in your own words, I'll let you take this, Billy. What does it take to get started with Dot3D on a small budget? You've built up, but nowadays for a smaller organization, I of course can answer this, but yeah, what's it take?
Well, you might not like my answer, but it started with about 5 different email addresses and trials to get a proof of concept. In the beginning, obviously we're all trying to figure out whether or not it's the right fit for what we're trying to do. And I started out with testing in trial licensing, and it proved itself to be a value to me in very short order. Everybody would love to have a terrestrial scanner everywhere they want it all the time. But I know on a state budget, it took me almost 5 years to get command support to try and foot that bill. And that only got us 1. And trying to deploy that around the state was a nightmare. So for me, starting out, it was just a question of getting a trial, seeing if this really is the best fit. Does this have a place in my toolbox? Once I discovered that it did, my question was, can I take it to scale? Is this something that just made sense to me? Or is this something that's really going to be as easy for my team to use and capture data as I would like it to be? And when we expanded into the ruggedized tablets, it was proving over and over that they they were able to pick up on it very, very quickly. Then it was just a matter of taking it to full scale for my team, which was deciding on our devices. And for us, the cost benefit was greatest in our iPhones. And with the cost of iOS licensing, it wasn't a really difficult sell when it came to my command staff. It really wasn't difficult. And I mean, for my team, the training to get them up to speed to make sure they understand how to capture the way that we need it to be, I was actually able to develop just a digital curriculum and then a 2-hour brief session locally. And we minimized mistakes far greater than I thought we could.
Yeah, for me, as a sole practitioner, as a consultant, it doesn't get any more low budget than me. I like to do things on the cheap because that's every money. I like to invest in the company, and this is a great way of doing it. But for me to purchase a terrestrial based LiDAR scanner, that wasn't going to happen unless it came with a garage, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, right? Because it's going to cost about the same amount as it would for a house. But this allows somebody like me to create high quality scans, capture the data, do lots of stuff with it at a reasonably low cost. It's something, and it produces very good exhibits too. I mean, to be able to combine with outdoor, I can bring it into virtual crash and have photorealistic surfaces on which to conduct my simulations. And it just makes a great exhibit. So it opened the door for me, that in combination with photogrammetry to build clouds. And even in the past 5 years, I mean, 10 years ago, you wouldn't even think about being able to do something like this. I mean, but for the technology to be made available so that anybody can really get into it, I've even encouraged people, I'll show this technology to anybody that wants to look at it. Every time I've got the iPad, I scan something for them, right? And these are people that they aren't crime scene techs. It's like, hey, you want to replace the cabinets in your kitchen? Play around with this.
It's a great party trick.
Exactly.
Right? I love scanning the crowd at dinner, right? That's my favorite.
Yeah,
but
and they can
so
3D
simple.
print it, and I mean, whatever they want to do. I mean, it's that available and it's that flexible so that people see the value of it. It's like, hey, anybody can do this, right? It makes me feel a little bit less special, right? But the trick in it isn't so much collecting the data, right? It's what you do with the data afterwards.
Yep.
And there's almost nothing you can't do with this, right? But you can't do anything if you don't have the data. So you got to get it. And if this is a way of getting the data, it doesn't matter whether you're experienced in this or not experienced in this, and if you've been using total stations or photogrammetry or whatever, this works for everybody. The advanced users, first-time users, and everything in between.
One of the things we really love about it is that it is such a capable, I've never seen the device that's more broadly deployable or more broadly open to skill levels. And what I mean by that is not just beginning to use it, but developing skills. So we're talking about a lot of things that hopefully everybody on the call understands today, things like control, things like, geodetic referencing, reference measurements, those kind of things. If you're not familiar with those things, this is the kind of tool that will introduce you to those concepts and give you the ability to deploy those with other devices that assume that you have those skills, right? So you can build this into a program and build up a program with this as your starting point. And that's really the strength for us at Collision Forensics, is that we can give this to almost anybody. I agree with Tom, that it doesn't get more cost effective than this. And if you can't afford to deploy this device, you really can't afford to do forensic measurements at your agency, is my opinion on it. This is something that's available to everybody and anybody who's interested, and it will give you the foundational skills that will build the capability for you to do all kinds of stuff. Now, the limitation of having to be within 8 to 10 feet of everything that I have to measure on my feet is something that some folks can tolerate, some folks can't. But as you learn to use this thing and deploy it more effectively on scenes, you're going to find out where those gaps are, where there may be a better tool. And now you have the skills and you have the ability to sell that solution to your command staff or to your agency, because I'm already using 3D. Everybody loves it. Wouldn't you want more?
You don't know anything about that, do you?
I don't know anything about that.
No, in a state agency, it feels like they demand proof without giving you an R&D budget. And it helps. Once you start capturing that data, that's how the grassroots support really starts building from the ground up, and then the pressure comes to really start the expansion to fill in the gaps that you might find in the system. And Tom actually brought up a really interesting point. I keep a weird little thing on my desk. That was the first SUV that I'd scanned, meshed, and turned into a scale model. I know it's not working super well.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I wanted to know whether or not, because then I got curious. It's addictive. I got curious. Can I turn these into rect models that I could put into a juror's hand? Because it makes a heck of a lot more sense if I can put two puzzle pieces together for myself. Let me see if I can develop 3D models of them from that cloud data, so I could be able to hand them to people. But so it really is that first dangerous step into the 3D geospatial
addictive world of
capture.
3D. Yeah.
That's got to be the worst Hot Wheel ever.
You were the one that scanned a micro machine. I mean, come on. I just made one.
So before we move on from this slide, just to clarify for everyone, Billy hit the nail on the head with a free trial. So how do you get started? These icons are on the screen for a reason. You simply download it and get your hands on one of our supported tablets or phones. It's the easiest on an iPhone or iPad Pro because the camera's built in, but you can also be testing out with a RealSense camera on a Windows or Android device for a few $100s or so. So there's really low barrier to entry on all platforms, and we have free trials available on all platforms. And then once you're ready to start scaling it, a year of the software is between $300 on the iPad or $1,000, including an iPad license on Android and Windows. So even when you're ready to pay, it's certainly not going to break the bank at Quantity One. I think you both, or a few of you already alluded to this. We'll skip ahead. So we've also heard a lot of this throughout the call, but are there any particular tips and tricks that jump to mind that you found yourself, repeatedly sharing with new users?
The one thing I found is you don't want to make quick movements with it. You don't want to spin around and do pirouettes. You want to give the accelerometer in there a chance to sort of follow along with you to get better results that way. And then just take your time and don't be in a rush, because even taking your time, it's not going to take that amount of time to be able to capture what you need to capture, even for large spaces. So 125 feet of roadway, I think I did that in under 15 minutes. So you don't need to really hurry through it. You can just take your time with it, and you'll usually get better results. So what I found is slow, methodical. Set up your control targets on the exterior perimeters of your scene. If I got accurate control targets surrounding everything that I'm going to measure, everything that's within those control targets should be very well controlled and very accurate as well. And just from that, walk through and look at your previews, fill in and append, and then optimize before you leave, and make sure you have what you need. And a lot of times we'll have the medical legal death investigators out there. They'll need dimensioning for their reports as well. So we can give them instant response to the dimensions that they actually need for their reports. We've actually talked to them, and it's like, you guys really need to buy some of these for yourselves. And they're very excited about it as well. The medical examiners and the pathologists and the doctors will get instant context for every autopsy that they do now. Because now, regardless of where the death occurs or how, they won't just be seeing the body and be looking at a couple of photographs. They'll have 3D dimensional space to be able to understand the injuries that they're actually examining when they do it. So they're excited about it. We're pushing them towards this. I think it'll be very helpful. There's not there's hardly anybody I run across that I don't think would have a use for this software. But yeah, I mean, yeah, take your time and set your control targets at the perimeters of your scene if you can, because I think that it produces better results for you. If I just put two targets in between those cars and measured 6 feet, I'm still probably going to get an accurate result around the cars. But the further I get away from that, I'd be more concerned. So yeah, what you're looking at there, I would put targets at wherever you're going to measure to. make sure you got targets on either ends of that, and then measure it with a total station or GNSS or whatever other tools that you have available to you.
So one thing we recommend from a forensic perspective is the use of checkpoints, right? Not just with photogrammetry, but with this as well, right? So I'll have some targets laid out there that can be used to verify the accuracy of the optimized finished project, but not used in the optimization itself, right? Because nobody should be surprised that when I tell the system there's a set distance between these targets, that it actually does that. We would hope that that happens, but it's those unoptimized, right, checkpoints in the middle that help with some of the admissibility issues. I know Billy has had some real struggles in court that we talked about yesterday, and he's kind of alluded to today that admissibility is a huge issue for this stuff, especially if it's a first adoption for your agency or in your jurisdiction and those kinds of things. Preserving the ability to demonstrate that this is accurate, preserving the ability to demonstrate the provenance of the evidence. So this autosave feature, right, the inability to overwrite the autosave feature. And then we recommend when you pull those digital files out, you follow best practices with all other digital evidence. We're going to assign a hash checksum to this so that it can be verified. It's the original data, no matter which iteration of it it is. All of those kinds of things, right? The intangible stuff on the back end. You know, Tom really references the simple but critical stuff that you've got to give the thing a chance to reference itself, right, and to match up its scans as you move. It's a mobile device. Amazing, frankly, that it can do what it does, but getting the evidence into court, that's the thing that we really stress with people, because I think it's a forgotten element.
Tips and tricks wise, to reiterate what Tom said, is you have to be thoughtful with how you move. That's the biggest thing, is how do you learning how you move. And when I train my folks, I'm like, listen, you can tilt, you can pan, or you can advance, but you can never do two of the three. That is the best trick to make sure that you are maintaining a fix on where you've been, so you can know where you're going. The other thing that, and maybe this is only for government employees, but only print one set of targets. I've had guys that decided they were going to take multiple sets, and they pulled from multiple sets, repeating a number throughout the scene. And of course, when it sees that number, it wants to optimize and bring those two positions together. So one set of targets to make sure that we don't end up with some duplication.
Very important, because I know that our support team loves and hates nothing more than having to say, did you make sure you didn't have two April tags in your scene? And then that also reminds me of one tip of my own, similar to what you were saying about think about how you move, to literally visualize how you're going to move through your scene before you do it. It really, really helps, just knowing you have to start and finish the same area, but also just thinking, all right, I'm going to go this way. Whereas if you're brand new to technology, you might just press the button and go, which will work. But if you have an idea of how you're going to move through your scene before you do it, your results will be better. So I think Tom touched on this. What are you doing to enhance and verify scan accuracy? Everybody has at some point today, and that is control. You know, these targets would certainly not be clustered like they are here. As Tom said, you'd have them on the outside perimeter of the area that you're going to be scanning. And however accurately as you can with whatever tools at your disposal, get coordinates or at least measurements between targets. And yeah, lastly, I'm gonna switch over and see what questions we can address quickly here. We've already hit the hour-and-a-half mark, but were there any particular examples that haven't already been mentioned, whether or not you can share specifics that you guys would like to mention where this you know, was utilized either on the front end or in court?
Yeah, everything's still a little new for us right now. We started using these things department-wide probably in, I want to say, October, November of last year. So we've had nothing that's actually proceeded to court yet, but the exhibits that we've been able to produce are just well beyond what we were doing before. I mean, for us to go out and scan a car with a P40 in full color, you know, with imaging and HDR and some of the areas that we're dealing with that, I mean, you're talking about 30 to 40 minutes per car to be able to do that in 6 or 7. We're now scanning more things. I think that the supervisors and the prosecutors are getting used to being able to see this three-dimensional data and see what the values of it are. One of the things I've always liked to tell people is that when these cases are finally prosecuted, you could go and you have 12 individuals that are in that jury box, and they all hear the same thing when somebody's describing something to them, right? But everybody pictures something differently until you show it to them, right? And this gives you the option of being able to show them precisely what it looked like in 3 dimensions, which is an invaluable tool, because then all of a sudden everybody's on the same page. So, describing something to some people is much different. And with the availability of this data and the availability of being able to capture this data for low cost and low time investment, it's really a no-brainer. And, I'd like to see this as the universal tool. It'd be great if iOS just included this as their base app. So just like you have with Uber, right? Let's just make everybody have Dot3D.
That's the idea.
Well, I mean, nobody had a dash cam before, but now everybody's got a dash cam, and that's probably changed the way that the insurance industry is looking at auto collisions. So, for people to come out of their car, start taking pictures of it, why wouldn't people want the ability to walk around and document the crimes, the accident scene in 3D, send it to their insurance company?
Oh, absolutely. I've certainly utilized it on the rental car pickup before. You always have that 3D scan in your back pocket.
Yeah, you can't scan the inside of the fuel tank to make sure that you put the fuel in there, right?
If only. So I'm just taking a peek at the questions now. Thank you, guys. I see some of these have already been answered, which is great. So I'll just run through a couple of them quickly, and then we'll call it for today. I really appreciate having so many of you on the line for this extended session. You'll be receiving a follow-up email from myself with a link to the recording within the next week. And feel free to respond with any more questions you think of. The first question here is it possible to use an Oak-D Pro? That is a 3D camera we don't currently support. So the easiest thing is to search for Dot3D supported cameras in your browser. We have a list of all our currently supported cameras, 7 or so. The DPI kits, Intel RealSense, and iOS LiDAR are the bulk of it. We are always testing and looking for more cameras, so that list will continue to expand, but that's not one currently. Is the scan dependent on hardware? So yeah, the dependency is that you do need a 3D camera. It is active 3D sensing. This is not a pure photogrammetry solution by any means. So no matter which one you have, you do need a 3D camera, whether it's built in or attached. Are photos and annotations exportable? Great answer, Will. Yes, they are absolutely exportable with 3D location information available in a text export as well.
That's one of the advantages and features. All your annotated and evidence locations are all exportable with XYZ coordinates. So you can dump that into Excel and just move it right into an evidence report. So you set up the origin location that you need for that room, and everywhere you pick up a shell casing will have an XYZ coordinate and a photo attached to it. And you can just drag and drop that into your report. And I mean, it makes things that much simpler.
Absolutely. Next question here. Does the iPad provide the haptic feedback, or is it only the phone? That's a good question. I believe it is only the phone currently. But based on some of the feedback we got from you guys today, I may check in with our team on that and see if it can be added to the iPad as well. It's always great to get real user feedback on certain things that we don't have as much insight into. So yeah, the phone should be on by default, but not the iPad. If using an iPad or iPhone with LiDAR, are external sensors needed? First off, no, but it's actually an important note. They're not only not needed, but they're not supported. So if you want to be utilizing an external camera for a little bit more detail indoors or something like a DPI, or if you just simply are in a scenario where you need to, put the camera away on the end of a pole and be able to see what you're doing. It's not really the world we're in right now, but for scanning underground manholes, above ceiling construction. Those are some examples where maybe it would make more sense to have an external camera. That does need to be Windows or Android today. iOS is embedded only, Windows and Android are external only.
Chris, I don't know that iPads have the ability to vibrate.
That would explain it. So yeah, good point. I'll double check that. But yeah, in any case, right now that's only on the phones that you get that haptic feedback. All right. Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure hosting all of you. I think this was a great session. I look forward to getting the recording published and shared with everyone on the line here. And yeah, again, please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions for myself or for the team of panelists. Be sure to pass it along. And thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.